Hello students, now let us continue with the other commands which are related with this system administration. Startup. How to start a system and how to shut down a system. Startup. A Unix system can be booted to a specific mode which is represented by a number or a letter called the run level. The two possible modes are single user mode and multi-user mode. In a single user mode, it will be used by the system administrator to perform the tasks like checking or backup. In this mode, other users are not allowed to operate the system. Second one is the multi-user mode. It allows individual file systems to be mounted and system demands started. Next, how to shut down the system. The shutdown command is used to shut down the system properly. It performs the following tasks. First, it informs the user with vol command about shutting down. It sends signals to all running processes so that they terminate normally, logs off all users and kills remaining processes, unmounts all secondary file systems, writes about the file system status to the disk, then it shutdowns finally system successfully with the help of this shutdown command. Next, how to take the backup and restore in this Unix operating system. So coming to the backup is nothing but the process of saving all important files at regular intervals of time. The process of restoring all the required files from an archive is called extraction of files. Unix offers a number of backup utilities, and the most important program for this are tar and cpio commands. Now let us see about the tar and cpio commands which are used for the purpose of backup and restore. Coming to the first one, tar command. Tar command is used for taking backups and restoring the files. It stands for, means tar full form is tape archive. Tar works with file names and directory names as its arguments. It operates recursively and the copies are always placed at the end of the archive. Coming to the different options that are related with the tar command. Here are the different command options. First one is -c, which is used for creating an archive. -x, which is for extracting the files from the archive. -t, which displays the files in the archive. -v, verbose option, which shows the progress of the backup. -f, it specifies the device name. Coming to, let us see the general syntax of using this tar command for creating an archive. So, an archive can be created by using the -cvf option. Example, I have shown here tar -cvf, then I have given prg.tar, cprg, java prg, sh scripts. Here -c represents copy or write, -f specifies the name of the archive, and -v represents the verbose option. Next, how to extract the files from the archive. The files can be extracted from the archive by using the tar command along with the -x option. Here tar instead of as I shown you earlier cvf, we are going to use xvf. Next is the file name. Next, so till now we have seen how to create the archive, how to extract the files from the archive, and let us see how to view the content of the archives. The content of the archives can be viewed by using the option -t. -t does not extract the files but it displays the content of the archive. Here, the general syntax for viewing the archive is after the $tar command, that is a command name tar -tvf, where T is used for displaying the content of the archive, and next prg.tar is the file name from which we are viewing the content. Next, coming to cpio command. cpio command is used to copy the files to and from the backup device. So, and the options which are related with this cpio command are -o, which denotes the output, and it is used to take the backup of the required files. -v, it denotes verbose and display each file name. -i, it extracts the files from the archive. So these are the commands which are related with the extracting and creating and viewing the contents of the files. Next, coming to the networking tools. So coming to the first one, host name. In a computer in a networked environment, each computer is known as a host or a node. Every host is having its own unique name. To find the host name of the machine, the following command will be used. Example, $prompt host name. If you type the host name and press enter key, then it will show the host name of that system. Next is the IP address. As we know that IP address is the unique identification number which is given to the system in the networked environment, and every host in the network must have its IP address, and IP address is used by the other machines to communicate with that. Usually this IP address consists of 4 numbers, each separated with the dots, which we'll call it as an octet, and the range of numbers which are used in these 4 parts will range from 0 to 255, and each part we'll call it as an octet, okay, and each part will be having the 8 digits. Next, coming to telnet. Unix offers telnet and or login utilities which are used to connect to a remote Unix system. The user must have an account on the remote server to use the telnet utility. To log in, user must type the machine IP address as an argument. Next, coming to domain name system. Domain name system is a hierarchical naming system for the computers, services, or any resource connected to the internet. DNS makes possible to assign domain names to groups of internet users. It also stores other type of information such as list of mail servers. Coming to the structure of this domain name system, domain namespace contains a tree of domain names where each node has 0 or more resource records. The tree divides into zones, and each zone consists of the collection of connected nodes. Here, the domain names will be easy to remember than the IP address. The domain names example are www.yahoo.com, like that. So the .com, .edu, .org, .mil, all this will act as the top level domain names. And the middle one, Yahoo, Rediffmail, Gmail, etc. will act as the middle level domain names. And along with this existed domain, top level domain names, there are some additional labels approved by ICANN or Aero, Beach, Coop, Info, Museum, Name, Prom, etc. Thank you, students.